we're back. And Saturday. Alright. So, hopefully you have your snack, your drink, and you're bundled up, and you're nice and cool. Bundled up, and you're nice and cold. That makes 0 sense. Disregard that. Nice and warm, comfortable. That's how we want to be, not cold. Whew. Anyways, so last Saturday I started a story about how I was almost homeless, and I was getting into a little bit more on Ruby, who was my first actual roommate, and how everything was kind of like, I didn't notice it yet, but everything was going to go downhill, and was quickly starting to. So, as I mentioned before, she wanted to move out of her parents' house. She was having issues at her parents' house. She had 2 jobs. 2. She worked with me, and then she had a different job. And so just keep that in mind. So I don't know where she was putting her money. I think she was giving it to her mom for whatever reason. And so she didn't have her portion of the security deposit. She didn't have her portion of the first month's rent. She didn't have her portion of literally anything. I paid for her application fee, you know. We moved in. At first I didn't realize, you know, how bad that was, because I was like, okay, you know, I can see it. You know, it's our first time. I just kind of told you about this, and I had already saved up money prior to this, so I already have the money if you don't need it. Or not if you don't need it, but like if you don't have it. And, you know, to me, it was fine. I could cover you, you know, this time or whatever. And, you know, so we got the apartment, we got the U-Haul, and we packed everything up, and we moved. And it was so exciting. Like, we finally had our own place to call our own. We each had our own room, and we had the kitchen and the living room and a bathroom and, you know, my closet, which was a walk-in closet. So my closet wasn't attached to my bedroom. Like, you literally walk into the door, and there's a mini hallway, and then right off the bat, living room, and then there's, you know, hallway, and then the living room. The kitchen was over here, and then straight forward was my room, and then there was a little hallway, and that was her room, and then in that hallway on this side was the bathroom, and then my closet was right there. So my room, my closet. And, you know, we were so excited. We took pictures. I had a radio, so I literally set up my radio, and we took turns listening to a bunch of music. And, you know, we were going through all of our stuff, and we literally unpacked all of our stuff, and we had a lot of fun. Like, I know it's gonna sound weird, but we literally both stood in the kitchen for like 2 hours washing everything that we had bought, because her and I literally, we went to the store. We went to the Dollar Tree, and we were like, with a list. We made a list at work, and we went to the Dollar Tree, and we were like, okay, well, we need this, that, the third for the house, and oh my god, or the apartment. And so we bought a bunch of stuff for us to use at our apartment. And so we were excited to be able to take them to the apartment and, you know, take them out of the bag and put it wherever we wanted. And so, you know, we had fun washing it, and we literally went through every single cabinet, what was gonna go where. We went through the refrigerator and said, okay, this is yours, this is mine, this is what we both have, or whatever. You know, we undid her room, we undid my room, and we didn't have any furniture. The only things that we did have was her bed and my bed, and that was it. We had a couch for the living room that she had brought with her. It wasn't a very good couch, but it was something, so we had that. And that didn't come until later. When we first got there, I think it was like the first 3 nights we didn't have any furniture at all. So we would play games and we would listen to music and we would hang out in the living room, and then we would go to sleep, wake up in the morning, and we would go to work. And we would carpool together, and obviously when we're at work we're doing 2 separate jobs, so we, that was kind of our time away from each other. It was, even though we worked together, we weren't together. We weren't next to each other constantly talking or whatever. And it made work a better place to be because, you have this friend that you made, you moved in with them, and now they're at work with you, so it becomes a much better place. And, she would talk to me about all of these things, and, we had fun. Well, the issue started with the fact that on top of her not being able to pay for anything upon entering and moving into the apartment, and me having to pay all of that, she also could not afford her share of rent. So when the first time came that we were supposed to be, paying rent, she did not have that. And so my dad ended up paying her half for her, because I could not afford to pay all of it by myself. And we were there for maybe 2 weeks before my friend Jane had contacted me, and she was telling me that our friend Sally from high school was being put in a situation where she was homeless because she didn't feel welcome at the place that she was at, and she had a newborn baby, and she didn't want to put her there, and she was looking for a place, and she was having like the worst of luck. And Jane knew that, I was looking for a roommate, and that, I could always use one. And so she brought her up, and she was like, hey, would this be a thing that you would want to do? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So I talked to Ruby about it, and, we both came to the conclusion that that was a good thing to do. That if anything, she could just share my room with me, and, or we could turn the living room, since there was no furniture, into a bedroom for her, and then we can just get like a curtain or something, or whatever we wanted to do. And the moment Sally got there with the baby, Ruby changed completely. She started hiding in her bedroom, and she started, I want to say competing, but she wasn't competing. Like, Sally and I knew each other from high school, so it wasn't anything that I was getting used to as well. So we clicked on certain levels, versus Ruby and I would click. And they started arguing a little bit, and she started sneaking in alcohol and hiding in her room. She would start bringing guys over, and even though there was a child in the house, and to respect Sally and her baby, she didn't want that. She didn't want that around her. She didn't want that around her kid. And so I was like, I don't want that around me either. It's one thing if you have a boyfriend or you have a girlfriend and you want to have them over, okay, that's great. But I don't want multiple people coming into the house. And that's basically what was happening. And we would confront her about these things, and she would lie about it. Oh, no, I didn't have this. Oh, I won't do it. I'll tell them to go. And, there was an instant that I remember where we had just gotten Sally and Ruby new work shirts, because we all worked together. I got her a job with me, and she she took the wrong one, and Ruby had the other one, so she went to get it, and there was a random person in the house. And so she came and woke me up, and I literally had to kick this man out of my house at like 5:30 in the morning. And, then she lost her key, and then she wanted to blame me, and then she wanted to blame Sally, and then, it was never her fault, and she never paid rent. Instead, she went out and she got piercings, and she went out and, went on dates, and she went to do this, and she went to do that. She was buying makeup, so I was getting makeup in the mail because that's where she was putting her money. And, you know, so she wasn't contributing. And it literally got to the point where Sally's child was sick, and we were at the store getting medicine for her, so that, because she was sick and she was teething, and we needed, you know, to get some stuff for her gums and for her cold or whatever. And Ruby had spent the night at her house, at her parents' house, for a couple nights, and she called me and she was like, where are you? She was cussing me out. She then went on to cuss out my friend Rose. She went to cuss out, I don't think my sister was there at this time, but she definitely cussed Sally out. She cussed me out. She cussed out Rose. And she was pissed off because she didn't have a key, and because we didn't know that she was going to be home, we locked the door after we had left. And she was just furious about it. And, you know, I told her, I was like, we all told her that we are at the store buying baby medicine for the baby because she's sick, and that we would be home as soon as we can so that we can let her in the house or the apartment. And upon arriving, her little sister got on the phone. And let me clarify, it was her sister who was cussing everyone out. And she was cussing, like, they both, like, together were cussing us out because they couldn't get into the apartment because she lost her key. And upon arriving, her sister starts going off. So, of course, I'm going off. She's going off. And, you know, I told her, I was like, you know, if this is how you're going to be, and you're going to lie about it to your sister, and your sister's going to come at me like that, then you can get out of my apartment. I don't want you to live here then. And, you know, we let her in the apartment, and my friend had asked that I close the door behind me or whatever, so that if there was any arguing or further yelling or anything like that, that, you know, the whole apartment complex wasn't, like, able to hear it as well because the door was open. So I literally went to close the door, and I guess I don't think Ruby was in the apartment yet. And I don't think I realized that because she came pushing through the door because I went to shut it. Like, I was the first one into the apartment. And then I went to shut the door. And the next thing you know, I'm being pinned against the wall by the door. And so that, of course, pissed off my friends. And she started yelling, and I was yelling, and they were yelling, and it was like this huge argument. And I was like, you know what, just get out of my apartment. If this is how you're going to be, and you're gonna, you know, lie, I don't want you here. So I kicked her out, and I got rid of that issue. Sally, on the other hand, is a whole nother issue. On top of the fact that I brought my then boyfriend at a time, because during the whole 5 months of me trying to get an apartment, and then the like 1 or 2 months that actually Sally wasn't there very long, or not Sally, Ruby wasn't there very long. She was only there for maybe a month, if that. Yeah, so between that and then the amount of time that we were there, I had gotten another boyfriend, and, you know, he was talking to me and was telling me things like, oh, well, my mom is kicking me out of the house, and she's gonna move my brother in, and I'm not gonna have a place to go. And, you know, since I had just kicked out Ruby, I was talking to Sally like, you know, this is the situation, this is what's going on. And, you know, at first she was like, no, I don't really think that's a good idea. You guys just started dating, you know. And I was like, yeah, but he is going homeless. And, you know, I helped you, and I don't want to help you but not help him. because, you know, if I can help someone from being homeless, then that's what I would rather do. And, you know, it came down to that where we actually allowed him to move in. And that proved even more to be just a bad idea, because the two of them did not get along at all. Jack was rude, and he thought he was funny when he was being rude, and it really rubbed Sally the wrong way. And so there were a lot of times where they would start arguing, or them arguing would like come at me, and then we would all be arguing. Or, you know, I'd stand up for him, and then we would be arguing with her, or I'd stand up with her and he would be mad at me, or, you know, whatever the case was. And it went downhill even more. Like, I crawled up the ladder to get to where I wanted, and then when I was at the top where I wanted, it just slowly, just more and more slip and slide, and down you go. And it's really hard to catch your balance, or catch yourself from falling when you are falling, you know. But I always had a plan B. I always had a backup. I always had, well, if this doesn't fail, who else can or if this fails, what else can I do in order to fix this issue? And where I saw that he needed that help and she wasn't working out, I was like, okay, if I kick her out and move him in, then we should still be fine. He has a job, I have a job, Sally has a job, we can still manage the apartment and all of the stuff, and we should be fine. However, it only got worse, and therefore I'm at a loss for words, because, you know, I really thought it was gonna work, and it didn't. And, you know, so this entire time I've just learned and learned and learned, and now I just have to take everything that I've learned into perspective. I still have a lot of the story to tell you, so there's going to be a part 3. I will go on to tell you more about living with Sally and living with Jack, as I almost called him Jake. Jack, as, you know, as he moved in and all of that situation. So I hope you enjoyed this continuation of I Was Almost Homeless story. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you get part 3, and don't forget to leave me a like and a comment, and I will see you next time.